hello, and welcome to the season premiere edition of the Gary Dunn Show right here on CTV. I'm your host, Gary Smith. And on today's show, we're going to talk with Coach Dunn about everything preseason leading into the Week 1 game at Charleston, and then we'll look ahead to this coming week's game against Westchester. And Coach, I know we say it every year, but where did the summer go?
Good to be back for another year. Yeah, it went by pretty quick, but excited to get this thing kicked off, and good to be back for another year.
And before we start going into the more current stuff, but let's just take the fans back through the process, because you played a game. Last game you played was last November, and that's a whole lot of time leading up to. You had spring camp, you had guys coming in, you had guys coming out. So maybe just talk a little bit about some of the new guys you have on the team and what you've been impressed with some of the new blood coming in.
Yeah, I thought spring ball went well. I thought we had a good winter session, leading into the summertime, and we had a number of guys that stayed here throughout the summer. We probably had maybe 25 guys here early in the summer, and then as the summer goes on, more guys start to check back in. They're tired of being home. They want to get back. So I think our strength coach Chandler Daniel did an incredible job this summer. We converted a weight room up at our stadium 2 years ago, and our guys seem to love it up there. We're able to access the field, we're able to access the turf, but Coach Daniel does an incredible job, and our guys bought in this summer, so that was good. I feel like we had a strong recruiting class. We've got some young guys that I think we had 6 or 7 young guys make the trip, which is kind of unusual for our first road game to have that many young guys on the trip. They're learning. They're not there yet. They're learning, and we talk about it's a journey, right? It's not, okay, I'm a true freshman, I'm going to play by the first week. It's hey, we're going to need you week 3, we're going to need you week 4, we're going to need you week 5, but you're going to start seeing some young guys pop on some special teams. Taiwan Bandy, a young man from Penn Hills, really had a really good camp as a freshman and kind of opened all the coaches' eyes on special teams. Jake Lehu, a local guy, is probably going to get some run on special teams. So the freshman class we felt was really good. But then we also had some upperclassmen that are really playing their first meaningful football snap. Grant Hopple started at inside linebacker for us Saturday, and Grant's an interesting case. Been here for a couple years, fought an illness, fought an injury. Really smart, cerebral football player that set our defense for us and played really well the first week. So you're going to start to see some names that maybe you haven't seen before. Offensively, we're probably a little bit older. Defensively, we got some young guys that are playing, some guys that played roles last year, and now they have expanded roles. Khalil Taylor, a young man that had an interception Saturday, played some last year on special teams, got a little bit of run on defense, but now he's an every down player. So, I think we have a nice mix of older guys and younger guys that are going to push for some playing time.
And you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, let's talk a little bit about the other side of the equation, your seniors, your veterans coming back, because really that, sometimes that's how the ship goes, is if you have the leadership up top, that's going to do a lot in games 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 when it gets to be a grind.
Huge senior class. I think we have 21 seniors or 21 guys who could be seniors. With still dealing with the COVID rule. We've got a handful or a gaggle, I guess, of guys in graduate school going to finish their masters this year, which I'm proud of. But we do have a lot of upperclassmen as well. Offensively, we've got three seniors up front. You got Jaheim Bassam, who started. I don't know how many games now. Nashawn Jackson's been a regular starter. Sean Knight, played first couple years at tight end, and now he's been a 2-year starter at offensive line. You got our quarterbacks a senior. You got a couple wide receivers in Amari Hopkins and DeMont Martin are seniors. Jack Kalechi, I think Jack's 32 years old. He's been here forever. He's going to finish with his MBA this semester. Eric McCann's carried the football a lot for us. So we got a lot of seniors, and then you flip over to defense, Dom Solomon, same thing. Dom's been here, I think, as long as I have.
Here
I'm not sure how many years this makes for Dom, but we've got some older guys on the defensive side as well. So I think it's a nice mix, and we just gotta play better.
And as a former offensive lineman yourself, how does it feel to have that kind of seniority and experience on the offensive line? Because any coach, I think, in the country will say it all starts. No matter what you do, whatever schemes, it all starts on the line.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Coach McClain has got those guys playing really hard and really well. Jaheim, we moved him. He was a starting left guard for us for 3 years, and we moved him over to center this year, and he's doing a really good job of leading that bunch. Deshaun Jackson's kind of the physical one of the group, the problem child at times for me. And then Sean's really super athletic and a really strong run blocker. So, to have those guys and have them in our system for a number of years allows us to do more. And couldn't be happier with those guys.
Now, Coach, we've gone through camp, and now it's time to start the season. In this past week, start the season on the road. Kind of a weird scheduling quirk. Start 3 games on the road. This first game at Charleston, and I know I usually ask you, and I'll ask you again. What's it like that first road game? Is it with the team aspect?
Yeah, we had been here for 4 weeks. We're the first ones back on campus every year. We had 2 weeks of preseason camp. We had 2 weeks of practice while school was in session. So, it's nice. I kind of like as a coach being on the road that first week. Hey, let's get off campus. Let's relax. Let's have a nice team dinner. Let's spend some time together at the hotel and just kind of leave everything behind. And I thought our guys did a good job of managing the trip. It was a short trip, but you're right. We played 3 on the road to start the season and 5 of our first 6. So our guys understand that we've got to grow up and hurry, and we've got to be prepared to play on the road. But I thought it was a good trip. I'm sure we'll get into the game. We played well at times. We just didn't play well all the time. And some first game mistakes. But as we get into it, we'll see where we're at.
It was also kind of a unique situation. You always have at the beginning of the year where some teams have played a game. You happen to be on the road against a team, Charleston, a very good team, a playoff team. Last year, they had a game under its belt. And just talk about the experience, because we've talked about on the show before, just the growth from a team from week 1 to week 2.
Absolutely. You get to work out all those kinks. You get to work out all those things that situations that maybe didn't arise during preseason camp. I think our slow start might have been attributed to that. We came out and really didn't play well in the first quarter. Don't know that we coached well in the first quarter either. But once we settled into probably about midway through the second quarter, you could see a difference. Both on offense and defense. But the schedule worked out the way it did. They got to play a game before we played them, and we've got to do a better job of coming out of the gates in the first quarter and not spotting a really good football team, a top 25 team, a quarter and a half before we decide that we're going to execute and play. The one thing that's crazy to me, I was talking with Coach McClain yesterday, we had 1 offensive penalty for an opening game. Not to have a delay game, not to have a motion, not to have an illegal formation was really impressive. That our kids, and the penalty we had was a mental error that we've got corrected yesterday. But maybe we were too excited for the opening kickoff, and it took us a quarter and a half to settle in.
Well, the first quarter, they said Charleston had time of possession. They got out to a 14-0 lead. But I tell you what, your team in the second quarter, time of possession, I think each team had 1 possession. Your possession going into halftime was over 10 minutes, and then you ultimately score a touchdown on the last play of the half. Just talk about what that meant to the team, getting that touchdown before the half, and also just taking the ball away from Charleston.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there was no panic on the sideline. We were down 14-0. I talked to both the offense and defense. I talked to the defense when the offense was out on the field, and then we flipped it. And I said, just relax. We're not playing Vulcan football. We're not executing. We're not running the football. We just need to relax. Let's put a drive together. And we did that. And I'll tell you, we dominated that second quarter play. We really dominated the third quarter play as well. Come out and we put a long drive together at the end, or at the beginning of the third quarter. Long drive at the end of the second, like you said, took 10 minutes, and we finished off for 4th and 1 for a touchdown. And then we come out and long drive to start the third quarter. I think we had to settle for a field goal, if I'm not mistaken, which hurt us. Our red zone offense was kind of the thing that, if you look back on it, kind of disappointed us. I talked to the team yesterday. You can't turn the ball over 3 times and have to kick 2 field goals and beat a good team. And that's what it boiled down to on defense. We gave up 2 explosive touchdowns. I thought our defense really settled into that game and played really well, except for the 2 explosive plays. And you can't do that and beat a good team. And that's what we're going to have to work on this week.
And, even though first quarter wasn't the greatest, you said you kind of battened down the hatch in the second and third quarter, and you still had a chance to win that game at the end. What was the message to the sideline that last drive?
Just execute. We work 2-minute drill every week. We do it a lot during preseason camp. We're going to work 2-minute drill today. We need to execute and just relax. We talk about at California playing the next play. It doesn't matter what happened to play before. It doesn't matter what's going to happen 3 plays down the road. We got to focus on this play. We did that for a good portion of that drive. Give Charleston credit. We had a 4th and 2 there. We had a 3rd and 2 that we kind of missed a call, that we didn't get the first down. We had a good play call on 4th and 2, and they went cover 0 and got pressure. So give them credit. They made a play when they had to. But I was proud of the way the guys battled. You know, you're on the road. You're down 14-0 to a good team. Okay, let's start the work. Let's focus on the process and end up taking the lead 19-14. We're down in the red zone again, and we turned the ball over. I think if we at least settle for a field goal there and go up 2 scores, I think it's a different complexion of the game. We had all the momentum in the world. We throw a pick and then they break a long run, and the momentum switched, and we've got to be able to recover from that. I wasn't happy with the 4th quarter that we played. But those are learning lessons for our guys.
And another learning lesson, Coach, the question I had too is we talked a little about 2-minute drill into the game. This is the first year there's a 2-minute warning in college football. There's some timing changes. As a coaching staff, how much of that weighs on the arithmetic of trying to figure out when to call timeouts, when to go out of bounds?
Yeah, it's I looked at it all summer, and then I talked to some other coaches how they were handling it, and it's a new process, and I thought we handled it the right way. Coach Salisbury kind of helps me with the clock. I kind of bounce that off him on the sideline, and the way we used our timeouts on their last drive with the 2-minute warning in play, I said, okay, I'm going to use all 3 here because we'll get at least 1 stoppage with the 2-minute, with the 2-minute warning when we get the ball back. It is interesting though. It's a whole new dynamic. Never having coached for 29 years. And now all of a sudden it's a role change. But I thought we played the clock right. But it does take some thought into, okay, how are we going to handle this?
And one last thing before the game, we'll go through some of the stats. Your offensive line, we talked about before, as a team, rushed for over 200 yards. Bobby Boyd had a heck of a game, 22 carries, 119 yards, but busted out a 42-yard touchdown run. And throwing the ball, Davis Black, 19 of 39, 161. Didn't have any touchdowns throwing, but he had that big touchdown sneak at the end of the first half. And receiving-wise, your offense spread the ball out to 1, 2, 3. It looks like about 9 guys.
Yeah, I was happy with the way we ran the football. We have a number of good backs that I feel are really complement each other. I thought Eric McCann ran the ball extremely well and thought he did a good job. Obviously, Bobby broke a long run, and Bobby did a nice job. We ran the football well. I think we got to be more efficient in the pass game. I think there was a couple things that we left out there. But I thought we settled into the game and ran the ball extremely well. We just got to finish drives. I talked to the team yesterday. When you look at it, you can't give up 2 explosive plays. You can't turn the ball over 3 times. You can't take 2 really, really stupid penalties that will get corrected and win a big game on the road. It's just you're not going to be. That's not a formula for success. And the turnovers killed us, and the explosive plays on defense.
You mentioned Eric McCann III. He had 14 carries, 73 yards. So your number 1 and number 2 running backs, or 1A, 1B, whatever you want to say, both averaged over 5 yards a carry. So that's credit to them, credit the offensive line. And that puts a bow on week 1. We'll be back after this break, and we'll break down the scores in the PSAC and look ahead to this week's opponent, the Westchester Rams. You're watching The Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.
More than 7,500 student athletes working to become champions in the league's 23 championship sports. 17 member campuses, educating more than 110,000 students, with an alumni base that tops the 1 million mark. The Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference making the PSAC proud.
Vulcan football is back and ready to take on the best the PSAC has to offer this fall. After road games at Charleston, Westchester, and Lock Haven, the Vulcans return to Adamson Stadium for the home opener on September 28th. Save the date for October 19th and homecoming versus Slippery Rock. The Coal Bowl comes to Addison Stadium on October 26th versus IUP. The home schedule concludes with back-to-back games on November 9th versus Edinboro and Senior Day November 16th versus Shippensburg. For up-to-date information on the Vulcans, follow Cal Vulcans on social media or go to calvulcans.com. For live games and highlights, go to CUTV Sports 1 on YouTube or the PSAC Digital Network.
Sports fans, we pack stadiums, arenas, and local gyms every day. And every sports fan is uniquely human. seeing each play with your own eyes, triggering your own emotions. And as humans, we won't agree on every call, but we can act with empathy and consideration. So put yourself in the official shoes. Be more than a fan. Be officially human.
And welcome back to the Gary Dunn Show. Once again, I'm Gary Smith with Coach Dunn. And Coach, we just wrapped up week 1 for the Vulcans, and we're going to take a quick look around what happened in the PSAC teams this week. A lot of non-conference games because we're at that part of the year. So we got 2 graphics of scores here, so bear with us for a second as we go through the scoreboard. Shepherd and Southern Connecticut State. Shepherd won 23-0. Clarion at home beat Lincoln 20-9. Bloomsburg at home over Fairmont State 35-7. Seton Hill lost to Ohio Dominican 21-14. Kutztown beat Assumption 24-6. And those games were all on Thursday as we move to the other games on Saturday. American International beat Shippensburg 28-3. Bentley beat this week's opponent Westchester 20-17 on a last-second field goal. New Haven went to Slippery Rock and lost 22-7. Lock Haven over Glenville State at Glenville 31-9. And Edinburgh over Robert Morris 23-21. And Coach, finally we get to a week 2 of our season, week 3 of the NCAA season, or however, week 0, whatever you want to call it.
Week 0.
We're playing a game this week, and it's a PSAC game, first week of PSAC crossover against a team that pretty familiar with, played a couple times over the last few years, Westchester, and again, it's going to be a broken record for the first couple weeks on the road. I know you've had a chance to look at some film. Let's talk about their offense first.
Yeah, really explosive offense. I think they have some really nice skill kids. Their quarterback is a dangerous guy. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. Extremely elusive, extremely fast. Kind of reminds me of Lamar Jackson. He's kind of the Division II version of Lamar Jackson. So we're going to have to figure out a way to bottle him up and not let him beat us with his legs. They have a nice running back. They've got some really good skill receivers. They got a couple kids that can really go. Twitchy. We call them Twitchy in the office, but they're good. I think their first game was a lot like our first game. They had some self-inflicted wounds. They had some mistakes. They dropped a big post for a touchdown that could have changed the complexion of the game. They went up early and then kind of didn't finish the game. Kind of a little bit different, but they left some plays out there. They're an explosive offense. They're big up front. We're going to have our hands full defensively, and we've got to do a great job at 2 things. We've got to play assignment football. A couple big plays that we gave up Saturday were, maybe we didn't do the best job on our assignment. And then we got to run to the football and gang tackle. This quarterback, if you don't do that, he's going to make you pay with his legs as well as their tailback. So we've got to be straight on our assignments, and we've got to run to the football and get 11 hats to the party, or we're going to give up big plays.
Now on the other side of the ball, defensively, what kind of scheme do they run?
Yeah,
what should we look at?
Here's the issue with Westchester right now. They're a new coaching staff, so we only have 1 game to go on. We only have their film last year, and I'm sure they didn't show everything they can do. They're a base odd front. They're going to start with 2 high safeties. They're going to figure out a way to invert a safety into the box to get to 1 high. They do that a number of different ways. They've got some really good skill kids that cover. I think their safeties are physical. Very similar to our defense as far as, they'll jump from an odd front to an even front. That's why I love going against our defense in practice. We're pretty much prepared for any front, any blitz, any stunt that we could see. Westchester does a little bit different the way they invert their safety, so that's something that we're going to need to work on. But they only gave up, I think, 21 points, and I thought they played well. They've got some kids up front that can create some pressure. So it's going to be a good ball game. They're a talented team.
And this is the first week, as mentioned, of crossover play. Does it feel different knowing you're going into PSAC play? You're going to be in PSAC play the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I think, opening the season with Charleston, a top 25 team that was a playoff team a year ago at their place, is probably as close to the PSAC as we're going to get out of conference. Charleston's a really good team, really well coached. I see a lot of similarities between Charleston and Westchester. So it's going to be a test, and we've got to grow up in a hurry. We've got to go figure out how to go on the road and play 4 complete quarters. Unfortunately, Saturday we didn't do that, and we're going to need to play all 4 to have a chance against this team.
And as we've talked about a lot on the show, whenever we travel to the East, seems like it's like an old home week. I'm sure you've been working the phones. What's the alumni response looking like in Westchester?
So we do have a group of alumni. You know, we recruit that side of the state very hard too. So we're going to have a great group of parents out there. But we do have a group of alumni that have reached out that are going to be there. Ryan Catalesic, who's an offensive tackle that played with me for 4 years. We came in together. Is his son actually plays baseball at Westchester.
Okay.
So he's making the trip out there. Harry Hirsch, a guy that was on the '84 championship team, is hosting the tailgate. Kenny Adams, anytime we're on the other side of the state, seems to show his face, and I'm sure some other guys will be there. But I know they're throwing a tailgate.
It really proves that it is Vulcan Nation.
Vulcan
that
Nation.
game is Saturday at noon at Westchester. Let's take a look at the rest of the schedule here in the PSAC. First weekend of crossover here in the PSAC in 2024, as we mentioned, Kyle, at Westchester at noon, Edinburgh at Kutztown at noon, Slippery Rock travels to Shepherd at noon, and then 1 o'clock game Clarion at Shippensburg. Seton Hill goes to Bloomsburg at 2 o'clock, IEP at Lock Haven at 6 o'clock, and then Gannon at East Stroudsburg at 6:05. So everybody west is going east this weekend, so a lot of traffic. If you're going to the game, you're going to see a lot of PSAC bumper stickers. But any last words about this game coming up on Saturday?
No, just excited to go compete. I think our guys, when we met yesterday, I think there was some regret, and coaching staff as well. There's some decisions I could have made, but I like this group. They're a fun group to be around. They're a hard-working group. I think we'll play better this week.
Once again, that game is at noon. You can watch that live on the PSAC Digital Network at noon. That's all we have for this week. So for Coach Dunn, I'm Gary Smith. We'll see you next week on The Gary Dunn Show.